Stand by. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Good morning and welcome to the Wednesday, July 6, 2022 Board of County Commissions meeting. I am Nicole Gibbs, the Community Relations Specialist for the county. July is Hydration Awareness Month, and the Alliance of Overlooked Neighbors, they are a new local homeless advocacy group, is partnering with local businesses and organizations to have a cooler inside buildings in the downtown area with free water bottles available from July 11th to the 24th. The Sedgwick County Courthouse is currently working with the Alliance on a partnership to host a cooler for those in need. If you or your organization or business would like to partner with this effort, please contact the Alliance of Overlooked Neighbors on their Facebook page or by emailing them at the aoncoalition@gmail.com. Sedgwick County Environmental Resources will host an informational meeting about groundwater and flooding in the South Bluff area of District 2. The meeting will be held Wednesday, July 13th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Hayesville Middle School Gym Number 1. This event will help citizens understand groundwater, discuss possible solutions, and answer questions. At this time, Stephanie Birmingham will give you an update on Recovery Connect. Stephanie?
Morning, Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie Bergman Birmingham. I'm here to give you an update on Recovery Connect, but also some COVID vaccination news. We did discuss a couple weeks ago that the tender age vaccinations were approved. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, those are for children under 5. It is true that young children don't experience severe illness as often from COVID as adults do, but it can and does happen. The CDC reports that 2 million cases of COVID-19 have infected this age group since the start of the pandemic, leading to 20,000 hospitalizations. So we are really urging that families consider getting these shots for the youngest, the babies and toddlers. The Pfizer vaccine is given in 3 doses, and when children receive all 3 doses, it is 80% effective. Moderna is given in 2 doses, and again, when given both doses, it is up to 51% effective. As for where to get those shots, the Pfizer vaccine is available through our Sedgwick County Health Department's main clinic. That's at 2716 West Central. It is no cost, but you do have to make an appointment. We also urge families to contact their own medical providers and clinics. Frankly, though, we are facing some challenges with this. We have been discouraged that more providers are not offering the tender age vaccines. Our outreach with the health department is working to encourage more pediatricians and family doctors to offer these shots. And those who are, some are not offering them to new patients, only existing patients. Also, some still haven't gotten the vaccines yet. So we are facing some of these challenges, and we're asking local doctors and pediatricians to work with us to make these vaccinations easy and accessible. In the meantime, though, families can go to the little clinic at Dillon's. They will vaccinate children 12 months and older, and Walgreens will vaccinate ages 3 years and up. We are also having a special vaccination clinic on Saturday, July 16th, so not this Saturday, but the next Saturday. And the health department does offer, again, the Pfizer vaccine, so that will be for ages 6 months through 4 years. It is free, but you do have to make an appointment for that. I also want to talk about Recovery Connect and update you with some numbers. Again, for those who don't know, Recovery Connect is the county initiative funded by the American Rescue Plan to help those struggling financially from the pandemic. And since the program's launch in January through May, so this doesn't incorporate June numbers, we've received 387 referrals or requests for help from individuals, businesses, and nonprofits. We've also held 82 events or informational sessions. Many times those are grant writing workshops for nonprofits. Those were attended by 1,200 people. We've also distributed 20,000 plus printed materials. We have flyers that are all through town, and they are printed in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. So a couple of the resources I want to highlight today. This is the one that Commissioner Meitzner brought up at the last meeting. It's a great program. It's Child Care Worker Appreciation Payments. This is federal funding, and Kansas's share of it is $53 million. This will go out as one-time bonuses to an estimated 22,000 child care employees in Kansas. They can get up to $2,500 per person depending on how much they work per week. Eligible workers will get a letter here in just about a week telling them that they're receiving the bonus and the amount of that bonus. They need to accept it by November 18th. I'm not sure why you would ever wait to get free money, but in this case, you don't want to wait too long. There is an end date of November 18th. And we do want to stress that relatives providing child care, grandparents in many cases, do qualify for this. So again, that is the Child Care Worker Appreciation Payments. This next one we have discussed before, but I wanted to mention it again because it is becoming a permanent program. The Affordable Connectivity Program is funded by ARPA money right now, but Congress has taken action to make this a permanent program under the FCC. And this helps low-income households afford internet services. So they can get up to $30 per month paid directly to the internet provider. That's per household, so just one per household. They can also get a one-time voucher of $100 to go towards purchasing computer equipment that they may need through work or school. So anyone watching today, if you're interested in these resources, I'd encourage you to call Recovery Connect at 978-6737 or send them an email. They can help you apply for these programs. They can also find out if you're eligible for others. So, any questions?
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I have been asked that. I understood that Pfizer is coming out with a new vaccine that's targeted for Omicron. And do you know if we've got that yet or when it's going to be available?
I don't believe we have that yet. I think the goal date is sometime in the fall, actually. They are trying to rework the formulation to specifically target the strains we're getting now. The current boosters are really formulated to deal with the COVID that came out initially, but as we all know, it mutates and it changes. And so I don't believe they have that yet, and they're hoping to get it by the end of summer.
Good. Well, keep in touch with the health department. Whenever that's available, let's get the word out to the folks that that one that's tailored for Omicron is available at that time.
I agree.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, for continuing to share that important information. I'd also like to invite Tanya Cole to the podium, our Assistant County Manager, and she will give an update on our move. Tanya?
Good morning, Tanya.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Tanya Cole, Assistant County Manager. I am pleased to tell you this morning that we have moved 6 of 8 departments over to the Ruffin building. We started in June, and yesterday we just completed the move of Board of County Commissioners. And so we have moved over the Department of Finance, the County Clerk's Office, the County Counselor's Office, the County Manager's Office, Strategic Communications, and as I mentioned, the Board of County Commissioners. We just found out yesterday, and I'm a little disappointed, but kind of figured this would happen. The first floor offices, which was going to be the County Treasurer and the Register of Deeds, there is going to be a little bit of delay moving them over, and so we're looking at the 1st of August to be able to move them over, and so that's about a month delay to get them moved over. I did talk to Ruffin's representatives, and they are going to prorate the lease rates for us to be able to move them over, so no issues there. We're also working on technology for 2 rooms. That is the large conference room on the 6th floor. Currently we have a vendor who is working to get us AV equipment over there, a couple of cameras and some speakers over there to be able to hold meetings over there, and so we should be able to hold staff meetings and bid board meetings in that room. And then, of course, we've talked about the auditorium that's in the lower level of the Ruffin Building. That's going to be a little bit further out. The dates that we have so far on that is we're looking at October to get that equipment in. So we are on a weekly communication with that vendor to see if we can possibly move those dates up. But as of right now, just because of the supply chain, we're looking at October to get that equipment in. And there's just a few things, that are a little bit delayed, but I think you are aware of that. Signage, we're working on getting signage up on the floors, 6th and 1st floor, and then also access control, and that should be up, I would say, probably within a month's time. So those are my updates, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think as far as the move went for those first 6 departments, I think they went very smooth. There weren't any kinks. We're working with the departments to kind of button up any requests that they have, and I think that most departments have been very pleased with how things have went. So again, happy to answer any questions on the move.
I don't see any questions. I appreciate all the work that you've been through getting this move going. I know it's been very difficult. At some point, I'd like to unpack my boxes so that I can get into my office. But beyond that, it's been very smooth. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
The 2022 elections are quickly approaching. The deadline to register to vote for the August 2 primary election is July 12th. If you have requested an advance by mail ballot, those begin mailing out next week, again on July 13th. For more information about the upcoming elections, please visit sedgwickcounty.org/elections. Commissioners, taking a look at today's agenda, there will be an appointment for your consideration, there will be an appointment to District 3 Citizens Advisory Board, a consideration of amendments to previously approved Department of Corrections comprehensive plan grants, and 2 items from the Board of Bids and Contracts. With that, Chairman, I turn the meeting over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Nicole. I appreciate the introduction, and I want to welcome everyone that's in the audience today. And those that are joining us on KPTS and online. I also want to welcome, we do have some electeds in the office. We have Patrick Penn and Susan Humphreys in the audience today. I want to welcome them. Thank you for being here. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order for July the 6th, 2022. Next item, please.
Invocation to be led by Minister W.E. Hamlin, South Emporia Church of Christ. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Let us pray together. Our Holy Father, we come before you this morning asking your attention and your blessings and grace to continue with us, but today focusing on this meeting and these commissioners as they make decisions that affect the lives of the citizens of this county. We ask your special blessings. We thank you today for our freedom. It's on our mind right now because of the celebration we've just had, the freedoms in our country for so long. And you know that you have blessed us to cause that to be, and we're asking that it may continue. We celebrated on the 4th as one nation under God, but we know that in many ways we're divided. We face trying times and times whenever people's emotions and in fact their very perspective in regard to life and what's right are very divided. And so we ask, Father, for your special attention to that, to bless us that our peace may continue and that somehow we may understand and see the bigger picture and the welfare of all mankind as this commission meets today and every time it does meet. We do ask that you will bless them with a special wisdom to see what that is as best as human beings can, and that the decisions that are made would always be for the very best for the very most people that can be. And we thank you for the right we have to elect and to represent as they do in these decisions. we thank you for this county, this city, and for all that it represents to us, for the people in it and the contributions that they make. Today, we're aware of a friend of the commission and of the city and of veterans who need your special attention. Father, we pray for Herb Duncan to be able to survive the COVID from which he suffers at this point, for you to strengthen him, and we know he's not the only one. We pray your blessings on all who need your healing power. And as we live on, as we try to serve you, help us, our Father, to so live that someday that your will may indeed be done upon earth as it is in heaven. And to that end we come not to preach but to pray that it may be. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Hamlin, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Meitzner.
Present.
Commissioner Cruz.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Lopez.
Present.
Chairman Dennis.
Present. Next item, please.
Public agenda.
Thank you. And Tanya, can you check, make sure there's no other public agenda out? We did not receive any public agenda items online last night, so everything that we have this morning is in person. And we have two individuals signed up to speak. The first is Representative Patrick Penn. If you'll state your name for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you all so much for having us over here. It's Patrick Penn for State House District 85. Mr. Chairman, this is my first time speaking before the committee, so do forgive me if I'm a little discombobulated, but I'm going to get there.
Very good.
All right. And if I am in any way out of protocol, please correct me, and I'll adjust fire in short order. It came to my attention this morning at breakfast that there was a need to come down and speak, and I think we have 3 minutes on the clock, and it was regarding something that was pushed out, and I'll leave it to you to decide whether or not this is something that's appropriate to push out with taxpayer funding, or whether or not there's a gray area that commissioners like to operate in, and whether or not people want to have that type of person elected to office. But a county commissioner sent out a letter saying that there's a special election for an amendment to the Kansas Constitution to be held on August 2nd. It says that a special election has been called for August 2nd, 2022 to be held in conjunction with the primary election on that date. The constitutional amendment, HCR 5003, if approved by the majority of Kansas voters, would create a new section in the Kansas Bill of Rights concerning the regulation of abortion. This constitutional amendment would eliminate secure and safe abortions in Kansas. This special election allows all registered voters, no matter their political party affiliation, to vote on this question. My contention is with the portion that says this constitutional amendment would eliminate secure and safe abortions in Kansas. As a state representative from, as I said, from House District 85, and as a member of the Kansas House Federal and State Affairs Committee, this particular bill is one that when I was elected that we actually heard in committee, passed out of committee. I questioned it in committee. I defended it on the floor of the House, and we passed it with an overwhelming two-thirds majority to put it before the people on the ballot this August so that the people would have a voice in how they are to be governed. So that said, Mr. Chairman, I just want to bring out a few quick points to push back and correct any disinformation, which would be the intentional pushing of incorrect information, which I believe this is, or misinformation, which would be the unintentional pushing of wrong information, or just to clarify the record. According to the abortion industry's most influential attorneys, Kansas has become a haven state in the Midwest for unlimited abortion. The passage of the Value Them Both HCR 5003, state constitutional amendment on August 2nd, 2022, is the only way to protect women and babies in the heartland from this predatory industry. It began in 2019 with a decision by the Kansas Supreme Court, which somehow discovered a nearly unlimited right to abortion in the state's 1859 Constitution, and today even the most basic limits on abortion in the abortion industry are presumed to be unconstitutional because of this ruling by our Supreme Court in 2019. In essence, Kansas is now a new New York when it comes to abortion. The attorneys referenced above go on to explain that the national significance of the decision by stating that Kansas will become the destination state if of abortion tourism if federal laws protecting abortion are overturned or significantly limited or undercut in other states. We saw that happen with the Supreme Court just recently, so that's what we're up against. Seizing upon the new legal landscape, Kansas abortionists began filing lawsuits to block the state's bipartisan, broadly supported abortion limits, which were already on the books since we had Summer of Mercy back in the 90s. They already started chipping away at it. I believe there are two that have been overturned, both by the decision in Hodes-Nauser, as well as some things that have come forward since that point. Taxpayer-funded abortions up to the moment of birth. I'll say that again. Taxpayer-funded abortions up to the moment of birth are almost certain without the value of them both amendment. In 2020, Kansas' annual number of abortions climbed by a staggering 9.1% for a total of 7,542 lives lost. 52% of these abortions were performed on non-Kansas residents, and Kansas media qualified that influx as coming from Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. As a matter of fact, the latest KDHE report, Mr. Chairman, says that the abortion statistics in Kansas shows a 9% increase from 2020, which is during the height of the pandemic, while everything was shut down, our churches, our schools, businesses, 2/3 of businesses, at the behest of the governor and her staff. A 9% increase in abortions. Those remained open in 2020, and an additional 4% in 2021, the second year of the pandemic. That's a total of 13% overall increase in abortions during 2019. If you'll allow me just a little piece of time here, Mr. Chairman, to clarify. Short answer. Concerning the hypothetical ban of abortion in the state of Kansas, the value of them both amendment HCR 5003 did not and does not contemplate, does not address, and does not affect such a ban. Anything to the contrary is either false information or a lie. A no vote on the Kansas value of them both amendment means that there is no restriction on abortion in Kansas at all. As is the current state of affairs with the Kansas Supreme Court's decision in Hodes-Nauser, Kansas has had several of the protections already in the books covering women and protecting women who seek abortions overturned or rescinded. All of the rest are being challenged in the courts as we speak, just as quickly as possible. A no vote would leave Kansas, as it is currently, open to taxpayer-funded late-term partial birth abortions, D&C abortions, and abortions in which the child can feel pain during its dismemberment. Kansas is already a destination location for abortion tourism, and a no vote on the value of both amendment would make sure that those number of cases explode exponentially. In the Hodes-Nauser decision, Mr. Chairman, the Kansas Supreme Court took away the ability of the people through their legislature to impose any restrictions on the operation of the abortion industry in Kansas. So we literally have legal abortion up to birth, and the citizens can no longer change our abortion laws through the legislative process. So, in closing, a yes vote returns Kansas law to where it was before this terrible decision by the court, and thus restores the ability of the people through their legislature to impose reasonable restrictions. If you want to empower girls and women with legal protections, if you oppose abortion up to birth and beyond, as we have bipartisanship agreement, if you support clinic safety regulations so that women have at least the modicum of protections that a hot dog on the roller grill at QT has, if you are for parental notification requirements for children seeking abortions, and other reasonable restrictions that help curb or address the effects of human and sex trafficking on minors and the victimized, I would encourage you strongly to vote yes on the value in both amendment on August 2nd, 2022. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I close.
Thank you, Representative Penn. I appreciate it. I don't see any questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. God bless you guys for what you do. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Representative Susan Humphreys. Good morning. Please state your name for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. I'm Susan Humphreys. I'm a practicing attorney here in Kansas and also a state representative for District 99. Thank you to my colleague for explaining. I'm speaking about the same subject, maybe a little more specifically. I felt like it was important to bring to the attention of the commissioners and also the public the misinformation. I'm going to think the best and think that it was unintentional that Commissioner Cruz sent out in her taxpayer-funded newsletter. As Representative Penn said, the newsletter said this constitutional amendment will eliminate secure and safe abortions in Kansas. We are inundated with misinformation about this value them both amendment. It absolutely does not eliminate any abortions in Kansas except taxpayer-funded abortions. That's what happened. In 2019, the Kansas Supreme Court said there is a right to abortion in the Kansas Constitution, a fundamental right. Therefore, meaning any of the health and safety standards, the regulations that are common sense that we have put in place, bipartisan for the last 25 years, are considered will be considered unconstitutional. So what we needed to do was just simply say, which is what this vote is about, there is not a right to abortion in the Kansas Constitution. We need to let the people vote about that. We need to let the people say, is there a right to abortion in the Constitution? If we vote yes, we just say there's no right in the Constitution. There is still a right in our statutes. We will just go back to where we were in 2019 before the Hodis decision, and that is just to say that there are common sense regulations in place, and abortion will still be legal after we vote yes. So I felt like it was important to just simply draw that distinction that this information is not true. And as you all know, it's everywhere on social media. There's so much going on. But simply, we're just saying there's not a right to the Kansas Constitution, in the Kansas Constitution, to abortion, which was written in the 1860s. So I just would like to ask Commissioner Cruz to rectify the misinformation and just say what it is and let the people vote, which is what we chose to do when we passed the amendment with 2/3 majority. So thank you so much for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Humphreys. Commissioner Howell has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if this is directed at either one of the speakers, but thank you for being here. And as an attorney, I do appreciate you have a deep understanding of this amendment, and as well as your leadership in the legislature. I think that you probably know a lot more about this than I do. So I want to just say thank you for being here. And I too, I don't know if it's misinformation or disinformation, but I just want to say I want to make sure that this is clearly understood by people on both sides of the issue. And again, I stand here as I'm not advocating for yes or no as I sit here today. I simply want I want the issue to be understood plainly. I don't want it to be spun one way or the other, which is why I'm frustrated right now, because I feel like that there's a lot of spin on this. And so, in my own words, I'm trying to get this broken down to a really succinct, a couple sentences, and see if you agree with this. So, trying to get this. So, a no vote means there is a constitutional right to abortion, and if a no prevails in this election, and by the way, I don't know if it's considered a special election or not, but it's a regular election for November 2nd. So anyway, it's a normal
2nd.
Election. Okay. Mm-hmm. August the 2nd, excuse me. If a no prevails, the Constitution will be unchanged under the Hodis precedent, which may potentially overturn existing abortion regulations, as 2 of these laws have already fallen since 2019.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and the 2 that fell were regulating safety standards at abortion clinics. That's no longer in our statute. I mean, that's been overturned. That we pass health and safety regulations for abortion clinics. That's been overturned, and also the dismemberment abortion ban has been overturned. So that painful dismemberment abortion now stands in our statutes.
and then if a yes prevails, it puts this issue in the hands of the people's representatives, in other words, the elected representatives of the people. And so I would just say that the legislature then has the right to pass laws, and it has passed laws, and could pass other laws that would further restrict or permit abortion, as the people's representatives would do, at the will of the people through the elected representatives. So again, the issue then goes back to the people. Right now, I see it in the courts, but it goes back to the people if this would pass as a yes, if the yes prevails. And that's why I see it. Is that fair?
Yeah, completely fair, exactly. It goes back to the people through their elected representatives to regulate abortion.
Okay. I think I understand it. So thank you so much for helping me understand that this morning. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner has a question.
I just wanted to say thank you, Patrick and Susan, for being here. Susan happens to be the representative in the district that I live at. And Susan, you do a fantastic job. And it's nice to have both of your perspectives here, and especially Susan with your background in the legal world. It's thank you for helping clarify a lot of this stuff for the public and for us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions at this time. We appreciate you coming, and we appreciate you clarifying the law as it is potentially on the be passed in August 2nd to make sure that everyone understands exactly what the wording of that is and what the outcomes are. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. I don't have anything else on a public agenda at this point in time. Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Next item, please.
Appointments. Item A, resolution appointing RHIAN Collins to the Sedgwick County 3rd District Citizens Advisory Board in the student position.
Mr. Papoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Boone, County Councilor. This item is a resolution appointing for your board, your district advisory board, a student position, and you're recommending that RHIAN Collins be appointed. Resolution's in proper form, and ask you adopt a resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Buffoon. I appreciate it. And RHIAN is in the audience today. I met her during the recent Riverfest. She was a schooner mate at that point in time. So we appreciate her service in that arena. Also, she is a senior this coming year at Bishop Carroll, where my daughter just graduated last year. So we appreciate that she is going to serve on the Citizens Advisory Board for District 3, and she will have a full membership just as anyone else. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution appointing RHIAN Collins to Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners District Citizens Advisory Board for District 3. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And if you'll approach County Clerk Kelly Arnold, we'll swear you in at the end of that, while you'll have an opportunity to speak if you'd like to.
Good morning, Commissioners. All right, please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County 3rd District Citizens Advisory Board, so help me God.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You'd like to say anything?
Thank you for this opportunity. And I am so happy to serve as a citizens advisor on the board.
Very good. Well, we're proud to have you as a member of the Citizens Advisory Board. You're now official, and the next thing you'll hear Manager Stoltz brief us on the budget that's coming up. So we look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
New business. Item B, consideration of amendment to previously approved Sedgwick County Department of Corrections SFY 2023 Adult Comprehensive Plan Grant 33-22-000205 and acceptance of additional allocation for a total grant amount of $5,619,759.86.
Well, that was long. Thank you. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Steve Stonehouse from the Corrections Department. Community Corrections is a state-mandated program in the criminal justice system which serves as an alternative to prison. Community Corrections provides intensive community-based supervision programs to rehabilitate felony offenders. On April 27th of this year, you approved an application to the Kansas Department of Corrections in the amount of $4,688,878.34. Of that, KDOC awarded us $4,407,143.55. On June 17th, KDOC notified Sedgwick County that an additional $1,212,616.31 will be allocated for enhancing employee pay in state fiscal year 23. This brings the total allocation for adult programs from KDOC to $5,619,759.86 for state fiscal year 23. I request that you approve the amendment to the grant application and accept the additional allocation for a total grant award of $5,619,759.86. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. I don't see any questions at this time. I move that we take the appropriate the recommended action.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Thanks, Steve. Next item, please.
Item C, consideration of amendment to previously approved Sedgwick County Department of Corrections SFY 2023 Juvenile Comprehensive Plan Grant 33-22-000-206 and acceptance of additional allocation for a total grant amount of $5,015,379.31.
Another long one. Welcome back, Steve.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioner. Steve Stonehouse from the Corrections Department. Annually, Sedgwick County applies for grant funding to the Kansas Department of Corrections to implement comprehensive plan for the development, implementation, operation, and improvement of juvenile community corrections services. On April 27th of 2022, you approved an application to KDOC for $3,818,977.47 intended for juvenile justice programs. Sedgwick County received our total request on that grant. On June 17th, 2022, KDOC notified Sedgwick County that an additional $1,196,401.84 for the purpose of enhancing employee pay in state fiscal 23 would be available. This brings the total allocation for juvenile programs from KDOC to $5,015,379.31. I request that you approve the amendment to the grant application and accept the additional allocations for a total grant award of $5,619,759.86. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. Just I see this is broken down. This little table here talks about 2022 and 2023. If we don't spend some of these funds in 2022, does it roll over to 2023?
No.
So you have to spend half the money in 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Was the other grant we just approved the same way? So I don't think it was clear on.
Yes, the other grant was the same way.
Okay.
The state fiscal year comprises half of a calendar year.
So these are state fiscal year dates,
Yes.
2022?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions at this time. I move that we take the recommended action.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Thank you, Steve. I'm going to call the next item, but before I do, I'll have the clerk read the item. But at the end of it, I'm going to make a motion to defer, and I'll explain why at that time. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item D, reconsideration of Item 2 of the minutes of the March 31st, 2022 meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts, Election Hardware/Software Upgrade Poll Pads Election Office.
Thank you. I make a motion that we defer item D. The Election Commissioner has asked us to defer this until she can clarify with the latest state laws that were recently put into effect, and she will come back to us after she understands exactly what the laws relating to these items are. So this time, I move that we defer item D as in Delta.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Next item, please.
Item E, report of the Boards of Bids and Contracts regular meeting on June 30th, 2022.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. The regular meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts on June 30th. It results in two items that we bring before you this morning. Our first item is custodial services for ComCare in the Health Department. This recommendation is to accept the proposal from Able Janitorial Incorporated at the rates listed, and this contract pricing is good for 1 year with 4 one-year options to renew. And our last item is the 2-each 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive single rear axle crew cab trucks for EMS. And this recommendation is to accept the bid from Sam Pax 5-Star Ford, and that's in the adjusted amount of $128,472.47. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you may have, and I recommend approval of both items.
Thank you. I don't see any questions at this time. I move that we approve the recommendation of the Board of Bids and Contracts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Good morning, Chairman and Commission. Tom Stolz, County Manager's Office. Recommend approval of consent items F through S.
I move that we approve Foxtrot through Sierra. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Next item, please.
Legislative issues.
I don't believe we have any legislative issues. Next item, please.
Committee reports.
Do any commissioners have anything during committee reports today? Seeing nothing. Next item, please.
Other.
Any commissioners have anything? Commissioner Meitzner.
Yes, thank you for the 4th of July celebrations all around the community. It was great. Apologize for anybody that was offended by all of the noise that went on and on and on and on, seemed like through the nights on the whole weekend. But on another note, I want to acknowledge that a good friend of the community, Billy Williams, husband of Levanta Williams, passed away this weekend. And Billy was a good friend to many, many people, including myself. And my thoughts and hopes for Levanta and the boys, their boys, just survived this trying time. And so, Billy, we loved you, and thank you for all you did for our community. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a quick update to the commissioners and anybody else, but I had the opportunity to go to D.C. last week when Assistant Secretary was in town about a month or so ago to talk about the smart manufacturing grant that is hopefully that WSU will be awarded. I had the opportunity to talk with her then, and she invited me to talk to her in D.C. a little bit more about economic development in Sedgwick County, so wanted to make sure that we utilize that and made sure that we're making relationships for Sedgwick County and the Economic Development Department and at the federal level. So I did go to that, and after I left there, worked to write an article put it in the paper to talk really just about diversity and equity and inclusion as far as smart manufacturing technology and how we can do better and what the future of our community looks like. So just wanted to throw that out there and let everybody know that I did have a chance to do that. And if there's any questions about that trip, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, in light of the discussion that happened during public comment this morning, I would like to ask that the commission take a position that, again, I think to get neutral, accurate information out to the public is very critical. And to the extent that there has been communication that's been sent out that I think is not accurate, I'd like to see a correction sent out to the very same people that received the previous information so that they're made aware, if you will, that there is a more accurate way to represent the issue that was discussed this morning during public comment. So I don't know if I need to make a motion or not, but I would like to see that corrected on the record. I'll make a motion if I need to, but other comments?
If you want to make a motion, you're going to ask first for an off-agenda item.
Okay. Well, with that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make an off-agenda item to discuss a potential to send out a correction to a newsletter information that was sent out, I believe was misinformation. I need an off-agenda item to discuss that issue.
Thank you. I'll second that. Any discussion on the off-agenda item? Commissioner Cruz. Or Commissioner Lopez, I apologize.
I just worry about the legality of any of this before we go forward and before I vote on anything, that we're not crossing any lines that, either way. So I don't know, Mike, what that would even look like. I believe we have a meeting about some of this coming up. I would like to feel like I have more information before I vote on something.
Before you comment, right now, all we've got is a request for an off-agenda item. I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's fine.
I think that that would be a discussion on any motion.
That's fine.
Okay. So we have an off-agenda item with a motion and a second, a discussion on whether or not to have an off-agenda item. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Okay. Commissioner Howell.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm fine with even staff developing the proper statement, but I think that now that we've broached the topic officially as a commission, I think we need to be very careful not to let misinformation be the last word. I think we need to clarify exactly what this amendment does. And again, as I stated earlier, I believe that there are, I believe that the people who are very, very strong in their positions have put some information out that I think is inaccurate. So I guess my point is, if we're going to spend taxpayer money, we want to make sure that we do this in a very neutral way that's very accurate, and I don't think we've done that. So again, the damage is already done. I think we need to send out a clarification. So I think that the audience that received that newsletter needs to have a correction sent out to the very same people, so that because they may not be watching this meeting, who knows who they are. The only way to really correct that is to send out a correction to the very same people. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see us discuss, if you will, that idea, and I would be glad to make a motion to do that in just a moment, if that's the will of the board.
Thank you. And Commissioner Lopez did have a question for Mike Papoon, so I'll let him address it at this time.
We're certainly going into new territory here. This has never happened as far as I've ever been aware of. Correcting newsletters by official action of the Board of County Commissioners. Our office looked into the newsletter in question yesterday. We have been unable to determine that a law was broken. We had contacted the Ethics Commission at Topeka. He said that the law that they usually apply does not apply to this situation. We don't have any county policies on newsletters. Are we going to go back and look at every newsletter that's been sent out, see if there's been any inaccuracies in them, start amending newsletters? I think we're looking at and talking to the manager about whether we should have policies relating to newsletters or not. And maybe there should be. Maybe we shouldn't be doing newsletters on the county's dime, and each of you, if you want to have a newsletter, do it on your own dime. But this certainly, we've never had anything to address like this before, so I mean, I guess you can do as a commission whatever you want to do, but it's certainly new territory for me.
Okay. Other questions? Commissioner Meitzner.
Well, thank you. I'm just reminded, we're in the middle of quote campaign season for that issue, but also three of us running for office and others, and based on my experience in the past, and especially 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and I've actually had this discussion with the people that I work with in the campaign that I run, and we talk about how there are people out there looking at every word that you say and every written word that you publish. And I found that 4 years ago we put something on Facebook or something, and immediately it was recognized, and I can't even remember but there's a lot of chatter just about, and it was an honest mistake by one of the interns we had hired. So it's a word of caution again to all of us that's a heightened area today of watchdog groups on all sides, and they're quick to respond, and I personally think that I probably would agree that we shouldn't take an advocacy position on our county paid or county sponsored newsletter. But my real comment is that a word of caution to all of us and to our and to the people with our comms department that help us put these together to make sure that we're as informative as we are, and fairly neutral in any political stance on that. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz?
Thank you. So when did we learn that you were going to call the Ethics Commission? How come I'm just learning about this right now? I mean, it affects me, so I would think that I would be, as your boss, someone that you would tell me that you're looking into something that you've heard. Why was I not informed?
Because you weren't the one requesting the information about this issue. This was requested by 2 other commissioners. And we responded back, just like we've responded back to you on many occasions on issues and not copied in all the other commissioners or brought them all in under those issues either.
Well, I would just ask in the future that if something affects me in the term of having some legal ramifications, I'd like to know.
Okay.
Additionally, commissioners express their opinions all the time in these newsletters. And so I have a right to do that. And that's what I did.
Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I'm just a little concerned. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike, when you talked about what kind of precedence does it set? Are we going to go back and look at every newsletter and make a determination if something was said that was inappropriate or inaccurate and then go and ask to change all of those? What does that say for our newsletters going forward? I think if we're going to have a conversation about newsletters and what that looks like in the future, then we need to be able to all think about how we would like to respond to that and not just respond to it at a moment's notice. I didn't know this was going to come up in this meeting either. I do think we need to be careful with newsletters because they are coming from our government seats, but I think that we shouldn't say that just because one was done that somebody doesn't like, now we're going to attack newsletters, right? Like, I think we need to be more careful in how we approach this conversation. So I would like to defer this conversation until we have appropriate time to really think that over and go over what that could mean and the ramifications that could come of that if we're trying to change newsletters going forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concern about delaying this conversation specifically is about getting a corrected statement out, because I believe the information that was sent out was factually incorrect. So not really an opinion, it is a fact that what was stated was incorrect. So we should not have, we should all agree because facts are facts. But this is a very volatile topic, and voting on this issue starts 1 week from today. Okay? In fact, the August 2nd election is 27 days away. So we don't have much time to send out a corrected statement. And to the extent that someone would read what we sent out as a taxpayer-funded communication and misunderstand exactly what this amendment does, I think we have some responsibility and obligation to correct that. So I want to be very accurate. I'm not advocating, as I sit here, for a yes or for a no. I do want people to understand the history of this and understand what a yes will do and what a no will do, and the effects that it will have on future laws or future regulations or future permissions of this industry. It is really not up to us, I think, to advocate at this, as elected officials, to advocate for one side or the other. And I'm not. But I do want to be accurate. And we probably should not have waded into this topic at all as a commission. It's really not for us to do that. But here we are. We had misinformation sent out on behalf of the taxpayers. That needs to be fixed. And so, again, I would make a motion in just a moment, Mr. Chairman, if you're willing to allow me to do that. But I'll stand aside for other comments and discussion until you're ready for a motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And it is a very volatile question that is on the ballot on August the 2nd. I received a phone call from the Eagle the other day discussing this ballot initiative. And from the bench or from my newsletter or from any other area, I, as an official and as a paid by the government, I have not made my position clear on it. And as I told Chance Swain when he called me, I said, all you got to do is look at the back of my car or in my lawn at home and you'll see what my position is. But putting it in something that the taxpayers are paying to put out is not the way that I get the word out of whether I support or do not any kind of initiative. So that's the way that I've gone through this, and I told the Eagle at that time that my position is well known, I think, throughout the community. But my biggest concern is, because it is a volatile issue, is will there be any type of protests that turn violent, or any kind of violence committed against anyone that advocates one way or the other. The reason I wore the uniform for 29 years is to ensure free speech one way or the other. And I want to ensure that people can do that freely without the worry of any kind of violence on their person, or any kind of damage to their cars or their homes or anything else because of how that they advocate on an issue. I'm a little bit worried about taking an official position today. I agree that what was stated in that newsletter was incorrect. And we've heard from two of our representatives that detailed it in more detail, showing that it was incorrect. But I have a little bit of worry also on how that we can correct it in the future. What I would rather see is some kind of a policy from the Sedgwick County that says this is our policy on putting out information on any kind of issue that might come before the voters. So I guess I understand where Commissioner Howe's coming from, and I hope that that the error was just a mistake, because those happen. But again, I don't know that I'm expressing it real well, but at this time, I would really, truly rather have some kind of official policy that says that we do not advocate for issues from the bench or from our newsletters, anything that's provided by the taxpayers. Well, that's kind of where I'm coming from. Commissioner Cruz?
So I will just reiterate that the registration to vote deadline is July the 12th. We don't have a lot of time to register. You can register at ksvotes.org. This is a special election because it is not just a primary. Every single registered voter can vote, and I would encourage you to do that. So register to vote until July the 12th and vote August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a quick question, and has there been a motion made?
Not yet.
Okay. Maybe to avoid a motion and avoid all this, I just want to ask Commissioner Cruz, would you consider taking that 2 or 3 words that are in error and just rewriting yourself, and then this thing all goes away, and we can talk about newsletters and policies and all that later?
I will not consider it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez.
Just add one more thing real fast. I do think bringing this to a vote is a good way to even more heighten the political stances of where we're all at on this. And as a county commissioner, when I think about this conversation, not only do we get absolutely no say in that, but also, if we are going to talk about abortion, the only thing that we should be discussing is how our public health department can help prevent unwanted pregnancies in the first place. So I do think having this conversation at the bench is not warranted. I think it's out of the scope of our authority, and I think we need to be very careful with crossing that line, because once we do, then a lot of other things could come up that, again, don't play a part in our roles as commissioners. And I think that's a fine line that we have to really be careful that we don't cross. I hope that we don't have to vote on this today, because I do think that we can have the conversation about newsletters going forward, and I do worry about setting a precedence today that would make it really hard for commissioners to put out information that we would want to put out in the future without having to get permission almost from our fellow commissioners when we're all elected in the same way. We all have the same authority up here. So I just think that we could be crossing a line here that sets us up to be, put in a even worse spot in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Howell.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to wrap this up. We've had a good, long discussion at this point, and I can see it may be desirable for us to not have a vote this morning. I personally would like to see us vote on this because I think we need to send out a communication to the very same people that received misinformation. I've written this up. I sent a copy of this to our manager as well as our counselor this morning just a moment ago. To me, this is very neutral. This is language. I've got to read this verbatim, and I think this is good language. I think this is what should be sent out to correct the misstatement. It says, a no vote means there is a constitutional right to abortion. A yes vote puts this issue in the hands of the people's representatives. If yes prevails, the Constitution will be clarified that it does not protect or prohibit abortion. The legislature has passed laws and could pass other laws to further restrict or permit abortion practices according to the will of the people through their elected representatives. If no prevails, the Constitution will be unchanged under the Hodie's precedent and may potentially overturn existing abortion regulations, as 2 of these laws have already fallen since 2019. To me, that's very clear. It's very neutral. It's very factual. And I'm not advocating for one side or the other. I'm simply trying to clarify what the yes and the no votes mean. And to me, that's very fair. So I think that's reasonable language. I would encourage minor amendments to further clarify what this states. But I think a statement should be sent out to clarify the county's position on what this amendment does. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that is I make a motion we would send out language. Again, minor amendments are certainly acceptable, but what I just read is reasonable. I'd like to make a motion we would send that out to clarify the county's position on the constitutional amendment on August 2nd. Thank you.
Commissioner Howell, you're asking communications to send out something from Sedgwick County.
Yes, I want to have a clarification.
You're not asking for a change in a newsletter, just a clarification that this is what the amendment says.
Right, so whoever received the misinformation should get a correction from the county that would state what I just read a moment ago. They would just simply get updated information to clarify what the amendment does without being misinformation. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
So would we open that up to look at every newsletter in the past to make sure there's not been any mistakes made and any misinformation? Because I don't think it's fair to go after one. If we're going to go after newsletters and making sure that they're accurate, which I'm not saying we shouldn't have that conversation going forward, but we're going to have to look at all the newsletters. I think given the time we're in today and how close we are to an election that is so polarizing, it does appear very political that we're having this conversation at the bench at the county. So if we're going to look at past newsletters, we need to look at past newsletters and not just one in particular. Thank you.
Well, the way I understand the motion, it does not refer to newsletters. It's just saying this is a Sedgwick County release from our communications department specifying that this is what the intent of that amendment is. Is that what I understand, Commissioner Howell?
Yes, sir. And furthermore, I would like to, again, give them some latitude to clean that up and make it as neutral as possible, but be accurate. And to send that out as a correction so that people have an understanding what this does. I think it's actually a good service, but anybody who may have received wrong information would have good, accurate information. And I think even the amendment itself has an explanation, and I think that that's reasonable. You could send that out. But regardless, I'm asking communications to do this, not from me specifically, but from communications. It should be language that we all agree on is very neutral and very, very factual. And so, again, if I didn't do it exactly right, please feel free to clean that up further. But I think that my intent is to get out accurate and neutral information. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
So we're asking communications to target my subscribers only. Is that what you're asking?
Anybody who received the misinformation should receive a corrected statement. Thank you.
So you're asking the county to target my subscribers only, and that's exactly, so you're targeting one newsletter. That's what you're doing.
I don't want to go back and forth, Chairman. I think I'm clear.
If it comes out of communications, it should not go out to the newsletter. That's what my point is that we're not talking about a newsletter. We're talking about Sedgwick County putting out a clarification on what this amendment means, rather than sending it out to any of our individual newsletter recipients.
And again, my initial intention was to send it out to people who may have received the wrong information. That's my desire. But if you want to send it out just generally as a statement, that's totally fine as well. I'd be fine with either solution. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I might also add, I'm glad we're trying to clarify, because I'm from Commissioner Howell's motion. It sounded like it was only going to go to a particular group of people, and it sounds like you want it to be a broader message. But shouldn't the message ultimately be approved by the Board of County Commissioners as well? I mean, are you leaving this up to now communications or legal or the manager's office to frame this? I'm sure we can probably go pull the legislative language or pull whatever language we can get out of Topeka that explains the bill and put that out for people without trying to craft our own interpretation of what this constitutional amendment does. But I think I think we're on scary ground when we have one commissioner proposing some language and then leaving it up to others to try to amend or anything without the Board of County Commissioners seeing the final product. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz?
I think we have too much stuff to do, and this is taking too much time. We have a whole county to run. This is too hot of a topic for us to dive into, and I wasn't advocating for anybody to vote no or yes. I was advocating for people to vote on that day, and I will not be correcting any language because I do not believe it was false. So since this is about me, that's the comment that I'll make. But we have too much stuff to do, and this is taking entirely too much time. I know that I'm trying to move forward and focus on addiction recovery, trying to get people out of our jail that's overflowing. Like, there's too much stuff to do. Can we move on?
Well, we still have a motion on the floor, but we need to clarify. That's what I'm trying to do, is get to the point where that I am close to being able to second it. I just want to make sure that it is moving to get the word out without targeting one specific individual. All I want is clarified language, and I agree that the whole commission ought to take a look at what the final outcome is of the language that is drafted. So I don't know if you can clarify that in your motion.
We don't have another chance to meet between now and next Wednesday. So if we don't vote on this today, then again, voting starts next Wednesday. I don't know if we want to push this off or not, but I wish we had time to actually review the language at the bench and then perhaps vote on that language would be reasonable, but I don't know how we would do that with our time schedule. Again, my goal is, I don't think my words are special. I think the reality is I just want someone to be factual and accurate and neutral and send that out. So there's lots of sources for that type of language. The reality is, I think what I've written is reasonable, but again, maybe I'm biased. I don't see what other people would see, even in my own language. So I would concede to others if they have something they think is better. That's fine with me. But again, I just think that if we would send out something that's very neutral and very factual, that's my goal. And I want to make sure people don't listen to the spin on either side and are compelled to vote a certain way because they don't understand exactly what's been presented. So I guess my goal is simply to make sure we have education getting out to the right people. So, Mr. Chairman, I made a motion. I'm not sure if there's what I can do right now to make this better. So I'm open to suggestions from you, Chairman. If you want me to do something specific, please recommend a way to move forward.
Chairman, if I could interrupt, if the commission is going to make this motion, could it be clear on, is the intention to send, you all have newsletter subscribers, all of you do. We could send, if there is a vote to do this, would you be clear on whether you want us to send that correspondence to all newsletter subscribers, or if you want us to put out a general county statement or none of the above. And then we'll work on policy in the future for this. So if a motion is made and if it is voted on, if you could be very clear with what you want staff to do.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, you make a good point. So is there at the state level, is there an official explanation of this vote on what no means and what yes means that is basically we could copy paste and provide it to all of our newsletter people in a public statement?
I would assume there is, either in a supplemental note or something, Commissioner, but I'm sure we can find some kind of official state position on this.
Well, I appreciate Commissioner Howell's attempt to clarify, and that's good. I just think if there's an official description of what a yes vote means and what a no vote means, would be a more prudent and a professional, just to get it's just more of an informational message and sent to all, and that so. I could second your motion, Commissioner Howell, but I'd rather amend it to say that it would be basically a copy-paste of the official state position or the official state release of information about what that is.
Okay. Well, we do have an executive session coming up. I don't know if legal can have your staff get a copy of what that is, and we could bring this motion back when we come back from executive session. Would that be acceptable to the rest of the commission?
Yes, sir.
Hey, we will table this right now. There is a motion on the table, but we need language. So, Mr. Papoon, I know that you're going to be in the executive session, so you're going to have to gin up your staff here. Okay. So we're going to keep other open at this point in time. Madam Clerk, next item.
Executive session.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session for 30 minutes until, 10:45, to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel for the purpose of evaluating a management employee, and that the Board of County Commissioners return to this room from executive session at 10:45.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And we will remain in this room because we don't have any chairs in any other room right now. So if we can have everyone please depart the room, and we will go into executive session, and we'll come back at 10:45. So we are in recess. Our adjournment, our recess for executive session. I'd like to state that during executive session that no binding action was taken. We do still have one item that is open on the board right now. During the break, our attorney did get a clarification from the Secretary of State's office that has been provided to each commissioner, and I'll turn it back to Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had made a motion before. I'd like to withdraw my motion and restate my motion at this time. The explanation that's from the legislation itself, from HCR 5003. I would be glad to read this if it's reasonable, so the public has the right to know what's being said here.
You can read that. I kind of prefer the Secretary of State. So.
And I'm okay with either one. I personally like the explainer because I think it's slightly easier language, but I'll read what it says. I prefer this one, but I'm willing to concede to the other one if you think it's better. It says, the value of them both, Constitutional Amendment HCR 5003. HCR 5003 proposes an amendment to the Kansas Constitution for consideration at a special election called on August the 2nd, 2022, to be held in conjunction with the primary election held on that date. That amendment, if approved by a majority of Kansas voters, would create a new section in the Kansas Bill of Rights concerning the regulation of abortion. The resolution states that the amendment may be cited as the value of them both amendment. The new section would state that Kansas Constitution does not require government funding of abortion. It does not create or secure a right to abortion. Further, the language would state, to the extent permitted by the U.S. Constitution, the people of Kansas, through their elected state representatives and senators, may pass laws regarding abortion, including but not limited to laws that account for circumstances of pregnancy resulting from rape or incest or circumstances of necessity when necessary to save the life of the mother. To me, it's very simple language. I think it's easy to understand what this does. I'm fine with that. There is another explanation from the Secretary of State. I don't know if you want me to read that one as well. I'm indifferent as to which one's the best one, so I'd like some discussion, but I'd like to make a motion we would adopt one of these two statements.
Okay. Well, why don't you read in what the Secretary of State put down and stop where shall the following be adopted?
Very good.
Stop before that.
Thank you. All right, so this is from the Secretary of State's office, and you'll find this actually on the ballot. It says, constitutional amendment, vote yes or vote no. Explanatory statement, the value of them both amendment would affirm there is no constitutional right to abortion, to require the government funding of abortion, and would reserve to the people of Kansas, through their elected state legislators, the right to pass laws to regulate abortion, including but not limited to, in circumstances of pregnancy resulting from rape or incest, or when necessary to save the life of the mother. A vote for the value of them both amendment would affirm there is no Kansas constitutional right to abortion or to require the government funding of abortion, and would reserve to the people of Kansas, through their elected state legislators, the right to pass laws to regulate abortion. A vote against the value of them both amendment would make no changes to the Constitution of the state of Kansas and could restrict the people, through their elected state legislators, from regulating abortion by leaving in place a recently recognized right to abortion. And I've read both these a couple times, and Mr. Chairman, if it's your preference, I think that the one from Secretary of State is reasonable. I would like to make a motion that the county would agree with that, would send that out. Now, question as to who. I think that anybody that received the incorrect information prior, but I would be glad to see this sent out as a statement to all recipients of all newsletters. It would be fine as well. So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we would adopt this language, but the audience, I'm not sure. I think it's open to discussion.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Chairman. Nicole, can you please pull up the email in question? Okay, so I'm just going to read it so everybody can see it. It says, the special election for amendment to the Kansas Constitution, August 2nd. A special election has been called on August 2nd, 2022, to be held in conjunction with the primary election on that date. The constitutional amendment, HCR 5003, if approved by the majority of Kansas voters, would create a new section in the Kansas Bill of Rights concerning the regulation of abortion. The thing that I will be changing will be the Constitution Amendment could instead of would eliminate secure and safe abortions in Kansas. I am exercising my right to let my constituents know when to vote. Here's all the election dates. That's exactly what I'm doing. I have not advocated to vote yes or vote no. I am advocating for people to use their vote, use their voice as their vote. And so that's what I will be sending out, the exact same thing with one correction, from would to could. That's what I'll be doing, so that my constituents will know again exactly when they can and how to vote.
Commissioner Howell.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the chance to speak again. I would debate the words secure and safe. Mr. Chairman, I would debate the two words that she's using, the words secure and safe. One of the laws that's been repealed already since 2019 deals with the safety of abortion clinics. And I would argue that if you really believe in safe practices, that's the one that seems the most ironic of all the laws that have been passed. So I think it's going too far. I think the language from the state is very clear. It's not wading into these other words that may be debated. Again, trying to remove bias from this statement so that we're not leading people one way or the other is one of our goals here. And so I think that the Secretary of State has a high standard to state this in a very neutral and non-biased way. I would still agree that the language, even if you change that word from would to could, is still, in my opinion, sends the wrong message to our voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
So oddly enough, Commissioner Howell has handed out something from the Legislative Research Department, and I'm using the exact same language in this that says the new section would state the Kansas Constitution does not require government funding for abortion, which it can't anyway because of the Hyde Amendment, and does not create or secure a right to abortion. So I'm using the same language here. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Howell.
Let me point out, it doesn't use the word safe or secure in that explanation from the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? So, Commissioner Howell, to clarify your motion, you want to put out the Secretary of State's explanation of the constitutional amendment. And just from Sedgwick County to to the news media, like a normal release, or to newsletter readers?
My concern was that people who received the newsletter need to have a clarification specifically. If we would like to expand that out to other audiences, other newsletter recipients, or to the general public, or to the news media, I think those are great things to do. Again, this is simply letting people know ahead of time what they're going to find on their ballot. So again, I think this is reasonable to send that out. We care deeply that elections they reflect the will of the people. They walk in educated, knowing what they're going to vote on. I think to send this out early is a good idea. So I think a more broad audience is a great idea. But as a minimum, I think to the people that received the misinformation earlier need to have a clarification. So I would like to see us send out to a broader audience is where I kind of feel right now. So I would say to all recipients of all newsletters, as well as a general statement to the public and to the media, would be reasonable. So that's kind of where I am right now. If I sense there's a support for that, I'd make a motion in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, as the body that funds the election office, as the body that does the vote canvass, I want to make sure that the entire public understands what is on this ballot initiative. So I think the explanation from the Secretary of State provides that information, but it again, as the body that funds the election office, I think that we could provide that as just an explanation from communications. So, Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with letting people know what they're going to be voting on, for sure. I think the issue at hand is the singling out of one person's newsletter, when if we were to go back the entire time that you've been on this commission, I bet you money there's something within that, and I don't have time, and nor do I want to have anybody spend the time to scour through or pay attention to your opinions. And that's why, over here I'm trying to move forward, and I'm trying to get things done and accomplished in a productive way, rather than nitpicking each one of my commissioners. So I'm happy to, let's talk about this. Let's put this out from the county to educate voters on what they're going to be voting about. I think that that's prudent, and I would absolutely, wholeheartedly support that.
Thank you. Well, if that's the motion, I would second that. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I am a little frustrated with this whole conversation that we've had today because I don't think it's an either-or conversation. I mean, should we send out non-biased information to our community about anything voting-wise? Yes, absolutely, we should do that. But I think on the flip side, has targeted one person, it has targeted newsletters, and I do think it's setting a precedence going forward. I mean, we had state legislators come in and name one commissioner, one newsletter. We're having this whole discussion about newsletters, so what precedence does that set? I am completely okay with putting this out to the community, and I think for consistency reasons, we should put out what the Secretary of State put out because that's what people are going to see when they go and vote. I have no problem doing that. But I think we need to be clear going forward that any kind of voting that we have coming up, that Sedgwick County is going to be responsible for the election, we should be starting to put information out about what's on the ballot and what's going to be there. So we're setting a precedence that we're starting today on just elections going forward, so it's not just this one thing in particular that we're discussing today. And then I'd like to have a staff meeting set up where we do talk about newsletters because that was at the heart of this conversation, and I think it needs to be addressed. I don't think we need to just have one person called out in one newsletter because I can almost guarantee if we go and look at newsletters in the past, there's going to be people's opinions on there that aren't always necessarily factually accurate, and to attack one, given the situation, just to me feels like we're really playing into the political situation that we're in right now because it is an election year, because this is such a polarizing topic in the first place. So I think that going forward, we should do this for all votes coming up, and I don't know exactly what that would look like, so I'd love to have a meeting with communications and legal to look at what something like that could potentially be, but I would be in favor of putting this out.
Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me just reflect on a couple of things that have been stated. First of all, the folks that spoke this morning, they spoke from their own perspective. I didn't ask them what to say. They certainly represent their own viewpoints. And so to the extent that they named a commissioner, that's something I think we have no control over what they say here. To clarify the motion, I would like to have the county send out to all newsletter recipients as well as a general statement to the public on our website and to the media in an effort to educate people on the ballot question, a copy of exactly what's stated by the Secretary of State as I just read a few moments ago. And that should be sent out to that entire broad audience, if you will. And again, I don't think we need to make any reference necessarily to the information that was stated earlier in the commissioner's newsletter. I think that's like we said plenty on that. I think sending out this information is simply a positive step forward to educate the public on what they're going to have to deal with. Respect to opinions and newsletters. If this was stated as an opinion, I wouldn't be saying this today. It was stated as a fact. And I think facts and opinions are different. If we share our opinions in our newsletters, I think that's totally acceptable. It's reasonable. As long as we're not advocating, in this case, advocating for a candidate or advocating for a particular side of a question, on a ballot question, I think we ought to stay away from those issues. But with respect to expressing our opinions on things that the county is doing, I think is reasonable. But the problem with this particular situation today is this was stated as fact, and that's my concern. I think that the misinformation out there, it has to be cross-checked. And so my goal is to get the right information out there so the voters feel this is our intent is to help them understand before they go to the ballot box exactly what they're going to be voting on. So, again, this is very great language. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, again, moving this language out to the people, a broad audience, that's my motion. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I move my motion.
Thank you. And again, I did second that motion. I do believe that we need to have a further discussion on newsletters and work with communications and legal to make sure that we know where we're going with newsletters in the future. But for now, just an explanation of what that constitutional amendment has from the Sedgwick County who runs the elections, Sedgwick County that does the canvass, I think is appropriate. So that's my second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Thank you all for the discussion. Is there anything else need to come before the Board of County Commissioners? Seeing nothing, we're adjourned.